Hi everyone, I'm Raj, and today I'll be presenting our paper titled Hello, is this Anna? Unpacking the Lifecycle of Pig Butchering Scams. So pig butchering is actually a new-ish form of scam or fraud that has entered the market. It combines elements of romance scams, investment scams, and very advanced social engineering tactics. And it's not a one-off occurrence. Like, people are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars and sometimes even more to pig butchering scams. So what exactly is it and how does it work? In a nutshell, these scammers hunt for you or hunt for victims on various social media platforms. So it can begin with a cold message, a cold text message like, hello, is this Anna? And then the scammer will start a conversation with you, try to build up a relationship with you, and eventually convince you to invest whatever money you can in some fraudulent cryptocurrency or on a fraudulent platform. We wanted to understand how pig butchering scams work in detail, and our research was guided by three central questions. We first wanted to understand the common characteristics and patterns that occur in this scam. We wanted to know what the strategies, tools, and techniques that are used by scammers in the various stages of these scams. And finally, we wanted to look at the impact that these scams have on victims, both psychologically and financially. We used a qualitative approach to answer this question. We recruited 26 participants from social media who were victims of pig butchering scams. And after screening them for eligibility, we conducted semi-structured interviews with them. And our interviews focused on the anatomy of the scam, the process through which it happened, the impact that it took, the impact that the victims faced, and the support that they received after that. You can find more details about the recruitment and how we screen participants in our paper. Now, because this was about having discussions with victims about their experiences with scams, this was a very sensitive topic, and we did everything we could to minimize risk to participants. To protect privacy, we did not audio or video record the interview, but the interviewer instead took detailed notes, asking for clarifications where needed. Participants were informed about the purpose of the study and how their quotes would be used, and they had the option to withdraw at any time. And of course, our protocol was approved by the IRB at our institution. So our participants were mostly male and from high-income countries like the US, UK, and Canada. Most of them were employed and had at least a bachelor's degree. So overall, we find that pig butchering is highly complex and occurs in a series of carefully orchestrated steps. And our research revealed a 7-step life cycle through which these scams generally occur. The first stage is the lure, in which the scammer hunts for the victim and establishes initial contact. And most victims reported this happening through a cold text message, so either on WhatsApp or iMessage or Telegram, where the scammer just tried to contact them and initiate a conversation. And this can also occur on other platforms where reaching out to strangers is actually the norm. So like dating apps or LinkedIn, where it's not considered to be abnormal to reach out to strangers and strike up a conversation. Once initial contact has been established, the scammer tries to create a bond with the victim. And this is where pig butchering differs from a traditional crypto scam, because the scammer will try to create a strong emotional connection and build trust with the victim. They will exchange photos, they will exchange videos, they will also do video calls, they will exchange carefully curated social media profiles that do not appear fake. They have photos that they are posting, they have LinkedIn profiles. They do everything they can to sort of make this bond. And an interesting thing we found was that in only around 60% of the cases was this bond a romantic one. In the remaining cases, the scammer also tried to be a friend, a mentor, or an investment advisor to the victim. Now, once sufficient trust has been established, the scammer introduces the bait. The scammer will introduce the way in which they do these cryptocurrency investments offhand. And it's very tastefully, it's very artfully done. They won't pressure the victim to invest, but they will mention this investment as something that they do on the side. They will claim to have insider knowledge. They will claim to have someone who works within the company. And they'll also provide this proof of screenshots or testimonials or showing wild returns over their investment. And they will introduce the victim to a fraudulent investment platform. And the investment platform is fraudulent, but it's very authentic looking, very sophisticated. It has like real-time stock tickers, it has FAQs, it has terms of service. And what the scammer will do is that they will tell the victim to start small, like maybe invest $25, let's say. And because sufficient trust has been established, the victim will do that. And they will see wild returns on that $25 that they invest, which are obviously fake because the scammer is manipulating the investment platform. Now, once this is sort of validated that that this is a yielding return, and some people are also able to withdraw their original investment after withdraw even a little more. I think further adding credibility to this scheme, and I think that was just like a small cost that the scammers felt it was okay to incur. And once the victim has been convinced that this is legit, the scammer will try to extract more financial contributions from them. So they will be exposed to these high return opportunities that usually come, they're usually time sensitive, and that they usually come with a hefty investment. And the emotional manipulation is very well done here, in fact, because I remember that one participant actually mentioned that there was this opportunity which had like a $10,000 minimum, and she did not have the $10,000. So the scammer said, okay, because now we are friends, I will lend you the $5,000 if you want. And they essentially deposited $5,000 in her account, but obviously it was a scammer controlled platform, so it was just like numbers. Now the cut is at the end of the scam, where the victim has either no more money that they want to invest, or they realize that something is wrong. And when they try to sort of withdraw this money, the scammer will block them and cut off all contact with them. The victims will lose access to the investment platform, and they will see either account errors or frozen assets, or they will be asked to pay withdrawal fees. So traditionally, like any other scam we know would end here, but sometimes the scammers also come back for an encore, or what I call an encore. Because at this time, the victim is in a vulnerable state, they have lost a lot of money, and they're willing to do what they can to recover it. So scammers will impersonate either law enforcement officials pretending to investigate this, or recovery scammers who pretend to know their way around cryptocurrency and they can help you recover the money, or even some legal threats. And obviously all of these services come with fees for recovering your account. So the impact on victims is significant both financially and emotionally. You can see that the most loss that we observed was $185,000, and there could be even more. According to news articles that I have read, it is even much more than that. And some victims also reported struggling to pay rent or other bills. Some of them accrued significant credit card debt, and because they believed that they were gaining much more money than what they were actually putting in, at that time it sounded like a smart investment or a smart decision to them. There was also emotional impact, which was significant. There were feelings of shame and embarrassment that victims reported for falling for what in retrospect seems like an obvious scam. A loss of trust in online relationships, and also emotional distress and mental health issues like depression or anxiety. We found that victims experience frustration when seeking help from law enforcement. Most victims did not report for feelings of shame and embarrassment, as is consistent with prior work. But even those that did report found very limited help from the authorities or from the police. There was either a lack of knowledge on what the scam is or how it occurs, or there were structural barriers for local police or local law enforcement to help victims. An additional thing we found was that this terminology, pig butchering, itself was a source of harm for victims because it's considered to be offensive and dehumanizing. And in fact, many victims reported that this scam being called pig butchering was one of the reasons they could not speak to anyone about it after the fact that it happened. So either speak to friends, family, or even law enforcement after the fact that it happened. So maybe alternate terms that a long con scam or a groom and swindle scam that still capture the essence of what happened without necessarily comparing the victim to a pig could be used. So our research informs implications in 4 main areas. Social media platforms and any tech platforms should use AI or like any other sort of alerting mechanisms to detect scam patterns and warn users, and embed some scam awareness content into feeds. Banks and financial institutions can monitor for high-risk transactions. I know anecdotally that this approach has been successful in preventing some scams, but they can also collaborate with law enforcement to enhance like response systems and maybe provide a faster response. Law enforcement officials themselves, so they should be investing in specialized cybercrime units and understanding more about these emerging scam types and how they occur, and also offer like some stigma-free reporting channels. And finally, government policy and international cooperation. So government should also invest in strengthening some frameworks for investigation and prosecution, maybe facilitate some sort of cross-border investigation, because a lot of these scammers are not from the US, and also maybe launch public awareness campaigns on these scams, up and coming scam types, and like in educating victims or potential victims on how this could be avoided. So that is all I had. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I am ready to take any questions you might have.